And I believe we are live now. All right, hello everybody. Welcome. Happy Saturday. It is April 1st, 2023, April Fool's Day, I guess. And we are starting a new quarter now. We're starting a new quarter and a new month. So we have finally, unwound for the first quarter of 2023. So we have to, I guess, see what they got for us for this next quarter. But at least we kind of know what's been happening and kind of who's in control for the first quarter. So let us see. I think that this week coming up is going to be a little volatile. It's been volatile, so I don't think that this week is going to change that. But also I want to remind everybody that we have a short week. We are actually closed on Friday for Good Friday. So the markets will be closed, and y'all know that makes for a volatile week usually anyway, and also that will eat the theta up on your contracts. So keep that in mind when you're playing this week, that you have that that's going to affect your contract. So as far as data this week, we also have a lot of data coming out, which is not going to help. So on Monday we have global PMI, and then we have a Fed speaking. Then on Tuesday we have JOLTS job opening, another Fed speech. Wednesday we have consumer confidence, I believe it is. No, ADP employment change. Something else. PMI, non-facturing PMI. That's Wednesday at 10 o'clock. Oil data as well. No speeches on Wednesday, thankfully. Thursday, nothing on Thursday. Jobless claims as usual. And then we're closed Friday, but we do have non-farm payrolls on Friday morning. So that will be interesting to see if what happens with that, because usually, sorry about this bird, y'all. Usually non-farm payrolls will really affect the markets and stuff, but since we are closed, that's going to be interesting to see what happens. I'm not sure about futures. I'm actually trying to look that up right now to see if they're closed or if it's like an early close or something like that. I may have to come back to that if anybody sees that. I think you can. 6 o'clock Thursday to 9:30 Friday. That's kind of weird. I'll have to double check that. Unfortunately, this is live, so I won't be able to go back and edit it. I may put it in the description, but maybe futures will be able to be traded that Friday for whatever that data may possibly do. So anyway, that's what we have for that. I am just checking to see, you guys on YouTube, last week I had a problem with the sound, and I'm checking now just to make sure that y'all can hear me. Can y'all hear me? Can y'all just put in the chat to make sure? I'm gonna go on and get started, but I'll just double check and make sure sound is good. Thank you, I appreciate that. All right, so let's get started here. So we have a new quarter, so I just put a list of some things that I kind of liked on the quarter. I'm not going to really go through all of them, just kind of let you know the setup that I do see. Of course, MU here has this inside quarter where it's just basically been trading in this range for a few, what is this, 9 months? So if it can break out of this range, this may be a decent play to this magnitude here. So we're looking really, the quarter break is about 64.50. I would really give it to maybe hold above 66 and take that to the upside, because it looks like it's, ready to move that way. So MU for the quarter. Crowd has a nice hammer here on the quarter that I like. So if this 2 down to up reversal goes in force, that may be a decent play. Wanted to point out the Dow because we'll go in a little bit more into that, but it is an inside quarter, which we knew, so that's something to just keep your eyes on. Roblox is another one that's an inside quarter, so if it can get out of this range, it has plenty of upside, so you may want to keep your eyes on that. Then we have PEP with a beautiful hammer here in an inside bar. So this could possibly 3-1-2 up. And then we have WM with a nice hammer as well. Unfortunately, it's been kind of trading in this range. So if you know how to trade the range and you want to, you could possibly trade this up. But what I wanted to point out here was that it's a rev strat. So we like rev strats because you're not just targeting here, you're targeting the previous. So then that would break it out of this range. So if this goes into effect over this 162.63, we could see it rev strat, and then your target's going to be this 176.05. So PayPal is lesser like. It's still kind of stuck in here. So just something to keep an eye on, because it's definitely found what we call, what we say support. A little support here. So keeping an eye on PayPal if it can kind of break out of this range. PDD broke out and came back in. So still watching China, but it's not quite a shooter, but we want to see if it made 3-2 reversal. And kind of the same thing with MRK. Although this is a lot of range, it did come back in, so something to be aware of. JP Morgan, because we know that banks have, that issue. Again, this is not a shooter, but it's a possible 3-2 reversal. And then Oxy. This is a doji, but we do have a possible rev strat if energy stays strong. So those are just a few quarter setups that I had wanted to bring to y'all attention. I was watching Rob on the weekend shift this morning, so if y'all haven't seen that, y'all know it's recorded. It'll be out probably tomorrow, but go watch it. He goes through a lot more quarter setups, but it's just a good refresher sometimes to things that you can look for, and there were a lot of good questions that were asked, and if you have questions on the strat, that may be a place where you may find some answers. So all right, so going to our regular things. So, and remember last time I had drew the monthly broadening formations and kind of see where they are now. I did not update them yet because I wanted you guys to see how they kind of bust through them. But looking at them on a quarter, again, Dow is inside quarter, but it's a doji. So, we don't really kind of know who's in control here. But we do know it's inside. So we're looking to see 315 would be our trigger to the downside if it does decide to go. And then to the upside, 343, 344-ish is really where it needs to break above. Sorry for that noise. And then NASDAQ clearly just to up. Russell 2000 has been really weak. Of course, this deals with like IWM, small caps, and the banks. So this is struggling a lot more than everything. Kind of also like SPY. I believe that's because of JP Morgan as well. But this is struggling more than everything else. And then the VIX is still really stuck in this wedge that it's been in for a while. So that's how they're looking on the quarter. And then on the month, so you see here the Dow is still basically in this monthly broadening formation, still kind of really in the middle. Came down some and then popped right back up. So now we do have a 3-2 possible 2 up reversal that could happen. It's pretty much a hammer here, so we got time frame continuity. The bulls are holding it up, and you have a fresh TTL, so something to keep in mind. I mean, if this does want to go, then you can target the top of this broadening formation here. So NASDAQ gave us a fresh 3, although we did not take these folks out. So if we do want to continue going, 13,753 will be my next target to the upside. But we, we just broke through that broadening formation, and now it's broadened. So kind of have to see what happens here. And then the Russell 2000, again, still in the middle of this broadening formation, is very weak, but it's not really doing a whole lot. So it's no real actionable signal here. Speaking of the actionable signal here, with the NASDAQ, you'll be looking for a 3-2 up on the month to go to this next target. So, and then the VIX here is really kind of at this support. Again, the VIX has not really done much, but it's been in a downtrend, and we can see that. So it really can't break above 30 and hold, and it hasn't done that in months. So and we have a fresh shooter here on the month, which of course, you'll see all the hammers on the month. It makes sense that the VIX will have a shooter there. So, but we are also at support. We still can go further. So if we 2 up, 2 down, it's right here. 1706 would be the target to the downside. 1641. And then it will break out of this wedge. So this wedge, this down wedge that's going, it will break to the downside, and that, could really have us seeing some super bullish activity in the markets. Consequently, on the month, it's more closer to going 2 down, 2 up, 2 down, than it is like reversing and going back to the upside. And even if it did, the next resistance would be it would still be right at that 30. So unless the VIX can go above 30, we really will see bulls in the market. I mean, that's what we've been seeing. It's been bullish. So as long as it stays in this downtrend and we continue to be bullish, that's what the charts are saying. So looking at this stuff on the weekly. So right here at VIX, again, we're still at this support, but we do still have more room to go down. So if it wants to hit the bottom of this broadening formation, it could definitely still do that. And again, it's a lot for it to reverse to the upside, but if it did, we would be looking for it to break above about 23, and then possibly go up. But, even looking on the weekly, you see that VIX is making, for the most part, that was a double top. No, that was a lower. It's almost a double top. I think this one back here was slightly higher, but we're making lower highs, over the week. So the VIX would really have to break 30 for us to really see, a lot of bearish activity in the market. We're bullish. So really, for the most part, just want y'all to be aware of that. No actionable signal here on the Russell 2000 on the week. We are coming up on this resistance though here. But it's broken above before. It could still come up here to this 200. 1866, which I believe with IWM is about 186. We'll see in a little bit. But it's not really an actionable signal on any of these on the week. But they are hammers on the month. So it's one of those things where you can kind of drill down and find entry should this continue. But we have time frames. The bulls are in control on all of them. And we just kind of want to see if next month, if they just continue it. So the NASDAQ almost filled this little gap. It's almost there. So if it does have more magnitude, we do have this gap to target. And then, of course, like I was saying, the 3-2 up, we could target that next. It's 13,702. And with the Dow, the 330 is a strong resistance. So then 336 and 343, the top of that broadening formation. So the Dow had, it was trading sideways for a while, then had a fresh TTO. So that may be, you know, it. The thing about it is, you know, a lot of these ended with hammers on the week and the month, or even just strong green bars. These aren't really giving any signs that it's time to short yet, to be honest. Because when you look at them even on the day, you see kind of that they are making higher lows when you zoom out. You know, really, this is like almost like a gigantic inverted head and shoulders, and this shoulder has just been shouldering for a while. It's like a slow bleed. Actually, when I look at it like that. So yeah, I think the Dow needs to get above, when you look at this downtrend, 337. If it does, then it may go to the top of that. But when you look at it here, you see that it pops and comes back down, it pops, comes back down, pops. So shorter term, this is in a shorter term downtrend, but when you zoom all the way out, you know, this shoulder, this can come all the way down to probably about 308 and still even pop from there. Consequently, if it dies from here, it's got plenty of room to the downside. But again, you know, the charts aren't really giving any signs of we're about to die. The bulls are really in control, in my opinion. So yeah, we may have some corrective activity, but then it just gets bought right back up. So looking at these on the daily, you know, I said this downtrend you see here, but right here I do see this shoulder head. So this could be a shoulder area. So again, at 337, it really needs to pop above. And it can go as low as about 326. So this entire area, it could chop, and then it could boom. So that's just in this shorter term, how we're looking at it. This is the past, month and a half or so, where the bulls are in control. So, and then zooming out, you see that. But yeah, that's the Dow. Russell 2000, this is, to be honest, like I was saying before, it's still in the middle of this broadening formation, and it's below its 200. The Dow actually just broke back above it, by the way. I did want to mention that. It is back above it, but have to see if it holds. But the Russell has not really made it to it. It did break above these shorter term moving averages though, and it does have a slight gap that's unfilled to the upside, so it could go for that and go for this 200. But looking at, with zooming this out, I mean, this could be a shoulder head, but this shoulder can go all the way up here. So I like to zoom out and do that, and then shorter term, you do kind of see an inverted head and shoulders. I like to talk about that because basically, you know, that's really just a TTO. So they took out them and them and reversed, which is about halfway through this broadening formation. So, you know, you want to see kind of what it does from here. Is it going to go to the top of it, or is it going to go to the bottom? If it stays in the middle, I would kind of stay out. You see, this was a chop area right here. Finally broke above. So yeah. And the NASDAQ, of course, we know well above is 200. We talked about the little gap up here that it could possibly go for. And then it made a new broadening formation here on the monthly. So that's those. Now looking at our big guys. So Apple did a 3 on the month, and what I wanted to point out to you guys was Apple has also triggered the outside year. So y'all remember last year Apple triggered the outside year, and we was waiting all year for it to do it, and it kept getting close, and then going back, and then I think the last week of the year it got like so close and it didn't finish. But then we had a fresh TTO and it reversed, and it's been going ever since then. So if it is to continue, 182.94 is the target, but that is the yearly target. So keep in mind that would be, we still got a bunch of months left for the year. But that would be the target for the year, as long as it stays above this 154.41 ish. And we know that that was a tough area because Apple was kind of hanging out around there, and that was really the quarter target. So just keep Apple in your crosshairs, because obviously if that goes and continues, then the rest of the market is going to go. But everything else is for the most part inside year, but green, and I mean strong green, except for the Russell. So things we want to keep in mind. Microsoft is like double inside year now, so really interesting to see what that does. Looking at it on a quarter, if Apple is to continue, it would be this 3-2 up to continue, and then take those folks out to do the outside year. That's really the only actionable signal, though, as far as on these quarter ones. And then looking at them on the month. So this, let me double check. Yes, it's a fresh TTO. Barely. Is it? Barely. Barely took them out. But something we want to know, because it took them out, are you going to continue and then go for them, or are we going to reverse? A lot of people are expecting it to reverse, which may be right, may not, but also keeping in mind that this has triggered the outside year. So if it's going to go, it does still have a target. So it's not an actionable signal here, but one of those things where you can drill down and find entry somewhere else to kind of see. And then the Russell, again, still in the middle of this broadening formation, nothing happening there. The Q's, not a fresh TTO, but we did expand this broadening formation. So if it is going to continue, that would be our next target. It's 295.31 on the month. And then, I'm sorry, that was Microsoft. 295. This is the Q's, with another expanding this broadening formation. Come on. And then if we are to continue this 337, 334, 12 is going to be our target, our next target for the month. So there's a 3-2 possible up, 3-2 up possible on the month here. So yeah. And I'm not going to really do any 2 weeks because we're kind of like in the middle of the 2 weeks. I like to do those when they first start. And plus, since we're looking at quarters, we already doing a whole lot. So looking at them on the week, no actionable signal here. You just basically can see that the bulls are in control. A lot of them are somewhat hammers or just, strong bullish closes. So, and we do have magnitude still here. So that's that. I really do advise, though, if you ever let them open on a Monday, this would be the week that you do it, because it's a lot of uncertainty with the new everything. And I've heard a few times about how hedge funds and people paint their positions so that they look good at the end of a quarter or month, so that they look good for their portfolio. So they could definitely, certainly sell this all off. As bullish as I'm talking and how it looks bullish, just understanding the mechanics of how things work. Just understand that they did paint a nice picture. Y'all see the picture that has been painted. So it's something we want to be aware of. So let them open on Monday, even, possibly turn around Tuesday, or even maybe sit the week out and see what happens the first week to see if they continue this bullish activity. So unless you see a strong setup, if we get some solid trend days this week, then go for it. Otherwise, if it stays choppy like this, I really suggest you just stay out of it. So looking at Apple here, basically this inverted head and shoulders played out. It boomed. So just kind of have to see what it does if it continues. We know we're well above our 200 on the daily. The Russell 2000, again, it's below this 200. It's still in this kind of chop area. So really, it could fill this gap here, 181.32. That's what we're looking at. And then come up to this 200, 184.32. But again, we're still in the middle of this broadening formation. And then Microsoft, still a little bit of magnitude here to that 295 we were talking about. And with the Qs to this 323, they're all above their 200, except for the Russell. Everything else is above the 200. All the EMAs are pointing up. So again, all of this is showing that the bulls are in control. If we dip, they buy them. And they've been buying them aggressively, in my opinion. You may have some aggressive dips, but it's been bought. And you can just see kind of how they've been riding the EMAs up. For the most part, they're not letting it fall. So don't short until the charts tell you to short. Like for instance, with IWM, if it came up here and then these EMAs started turning down with price, that's when I would be ready to short. But right now, everything is looking pretty bullish. So, going to SPY, the big dog. Okay, so we had this big year last year, and we said that when this year started, that we had a feeling that unless it really did a 3-2 down and continued, it was going to be an inside year. And that honestly really explains a lot of the chop. We're inside year. We don't have a clear direction on the year. For the most part, we know we're bullish, but it's still inside, and we have like a whole lot of room to go, basically to the upside to even clear that candle. So we can really expect that it's going to probably stay inside all year, meaning that it won't get up to 480 this year, but it may get, it could definitely boom and still go, but for the most part we're expecting that it stays inside of last year's candle, because we had this and then we had this, but then we didn't really have sideways. So that's kind of what we're getting now, to kind of correct both of these moves, in my opinion. So on the quarter, we barely did a 2 up. It came back in and kind of finished like right there. So when you basically look at it on the month though, it's stuck in a range. SPY has been stuck in this range since June of last year. Yeah, we made new lows in October, but then we honestly haven't made new lows since then. We've been moving up, but still inside of this range for the most part. So the range is really, in my opinion, about 413-ish to about 380. So just 380 to 413 is just a chop area. We'll wash above and we'll come back, and then we'll wash below and then come back, and it's stuck in this area. So SPY needs to do something. It basically needs to break out of this area and either go or drop below. But what we're seeing here on the month is a nice hammer. So basically though, it needs to break 410, 412, 413. That's that area that's been hard. And then we can look to target at least this 418 first, and then maybe even 430. It can break out of this range. But we also know that sideways moves like this usually lead to an explosive breakout. So we just have to see kind of which direction it breaks out. if I draw, where's my line? So you see this on the month, basically. 415. And you can see that it's still in that downtrend, but it's still wedging. You know, you draw this. Somewhat. You can kind of see it's just wedging. So it's wedging together sideways for some breakout. The way it's looking now is that, you know, it may break out to the upside. It could definitely get halted there, come back down, break out to the downside. So something to be aware of, because it can definitely go either way. You know, a lot of people are bullish, and that's usually when they pull a rug, but then a lot of people expect the rug pull, and they could keep sending it. So when I look here on the weekly, I see a couple of things. I see a larger inverted head and shoulders that's really supported like that at that 380, like I said, up until about that 415. But then there is a shorter term shoulder, head, shoulder. It's basically at the top of that shoulder right now. This shoulder could go all the way up as long as it doesn't break above this head. If it gets stopped below there, then that will be in effect, and we may see it fall. Consequently, we have what's called the three white soldiers right here. Just means the bulls are in control, so really you expect for it to keep going. Just keep in mind this downtrend resistance. It needs to break above there and boom for it to really keep going. We are above our 200 on the weekly though, so that's something to also keep in mind. You know, on the weekly, it's above that. Bulls are in control right now. You have no reason to short. We're back above the 200 on the daily. We did wash a little bit below. I was talking on the show on Thursday, and when I was talking about the head and shoulders that I saw on the daily, I'm glad you can see it now because I kind of wanted to point it out. It's really when you zoom out. Okay, so keeping in mind this longer term downtrend resistance, this is your left shoulder, this is your head, this is your right shoulder. Okay, so in larger terms, to me, this, unless it breaks this top, this head, this whole entire shoulder can go all the way up to 410, or even up to this downtrend resistance at about 415, because that's not going to break above this high. So if it can break above that, that's when it's going to negate this larger shoulder, head, shoulder. And because, you know, we noticed the shoulder area, it's just been, it was choppy right here, and it's kind of done that same thing over here. Even though, yes, it washed below, it's still a shoulder area. Consequently, we see, you know, we're not breaking, making new lows. They keep buying it up. And if you look shorter term, you see this shoulder, head, shoulder. So this shoulder over here area is actually, well, this inverted head and shoulders for the most part played out because it boomed from there. It can either get stopped here, or this can continue that head and shoulders as long as it's supported by about 393. And I've been hollering 393 for the longest. 393. That's basically the support for this entire bullish range. And then if it breaks 393, 391, 30, and then really it can't break below 380. If it breaks 380, it breaks the bullish structure here, and then we're going to have, it's probably going to send it down. But we do want to keep in mind, you know, the rising. See, I don't like this on a weekly. Let's do this. Let's do that. So yeah, so 383, and then 382, 380. But y'all see this wedge that it's doing. So we're wedging in here. We can even do that. And then we may just break one way, or this could wedge and break down. Something to keep in mind though. It's definitely wedging. All right, XLE inside quarter. There's nothing is really appealing about that at all. It's just kind of just sitting there. We are keeping in mind this broadening formation that it's in, and it's closer to the top. So if it does trigger to the upside, it's still plenty of room there. However, it is in the middle of the broadening formation, monthly broadening formation for the most part, and got bought up about halfway through it. So keep this in mind. There's no actionable signal here, but we are just still watching energy to see whichever way it decides to go, because it moved so much last year, and it's one of those things I think they're not really letting it fall. This chart is a little bit similar to me to Dow, where we boomed up. We've kind of were trading sideways for a while. It broke down below the box, but is now coming back up and closed above this 200. So keep that in mind. Like I said, even though that inside is ugly, that it looks kind of like the Dow, where it had that similar TTO. We dropped. Now we're back above the 200. Still have gaps to the downside should it fall, but then there's magnitude to the upside as well. So that is XLE. SOXL are chips. We know chips have been doing well. No actionable signal here for the most part. Hi Eddie, I just saw that. No actionable signals here for the most part, but it's been strong. We know that Nvidia and AMD have been doing well. So yeah, it finally broke out of this little area that it was in down here. Almost did the outside month, but didn't quite finish. It's like 8 cents away from it. So it could honestly still keep going. Next magnitude is 22.26 for this. Look at it really quickly on the week. Yes, we closed above the 200 on the week for the first time since back here, since January of last year. So interesting to see if that continues. The weekly signal here, can't see it because it would be a 3-2 up. So if it does a 3-2 up on the week, then it will continue this breakout. And looking at it on the day, finally broke out of this wedge and closed above its 200. You see it was struggling for the longest. It couldn't break, fell, couldn't break, fell, broke above. So SOXL actually might be a cheap play on Monday if it decides to have a good run, because the 3-2 up on the day would trigger the 3-2 up on the week. And yeah, and then it can go for that gap. I thought I just saw a gap. No, it's not a gap here. Volume imbalance if you ICT, but that's not a gap. So yeah, it could definitely continue, let me say. Not go for the gap, but it can continue because it's broken out. So watch XOXL and your favorite chip stocks like AMD. It's going to look pretty much the same. Strong quarter, strong month, finally breaking out of that box. And then AMD has a doji on the week though, so not really great, but it's probably just corrective activity from that move. But you do have a nice, it's not even a hammer, but possible 2-2 reversal. This is a kind of in a range though, so I would like to see, probably need to see AMD bust above 100 and hold. This looks like it's struggling there. for more continued upside. But yeah, it's kind of crooked, but shoulder, head, shoulder, or even up here. This is a fresh, this is a fresh TTL. That's nice. But actually, this could be two different. This could be a shoulder, head, shoulder. So yeah, it needs to break above 100 or shoulder, inverted shoulder. So kind of watch to see AMD, see what it does to break out of this box. If it does come back down, it may come down and test this 200, but so also be cup and handle. Yeah, I like that better, cup and handle. It looks more like a cup and handle right here. Y'all know me and my patterns. We have been watching Boil. Who Boil? Boil has been boiling, frying, like boiled to a crisp. Keep saying this is really, I don't know, is this gonna be BBBY? Because we did an outside month, and this may even 3-2 down. And so you say it's 361. Where is it gonna go? Psychological levels. I mean, it has an ATR of $1, but you know, we've been watching it for a few months, and it's just been done nothing but fall. That's crazy. It went from $46 to $3. That was an insane short, honestly. And really, from 100 last year, this was a great short if you swung this. But yeah, psychological levels: $3.50, $3, $2.50, $2, $1.50. Yeah, it could go. But there's no signs here that this is really reversing. Every time it pops, it just gets short. Look how I have to do all of this. It just gets shorted down. So, honestly, if you wanted to play this as a cheap play, you'd wait for it to pop and then short the mess out of it. Especially if it got up here to this 20. K-Web. So, our China stocks. Well, we know Baba is a special case, so I'll do something separate on Baba. But K-Web, we have a 2 up, but red, but a doji. So, nothing really actionable. Just have to kind of see what this does, because you know it follows China, and China has been, you know, moving a little bit. It's found a little bit of support after it had that sell-off right here. It boomed and then it sold off for the month of February. Looks like it found some support, and this is almost a hammer. So I have to see what K-Web wants to do. If it does break to the upside, that may be a nice move to the upside with Chinese stocks. And then also, you know, this could be a head. So we got a shoulder, head. This shoulder would be supported, oh really, all the way down here to 24.37 for it to go. So it's nice on the month, and you can still see that on the week, this inverted head and shoulders. So you really want it to stay above there, and then this actually got stopped at the 200. So it broke above, held a little bit, and then broke below. It needs to break back above to keep going. Even on the day, it did kind of break above, but it's still sitting. So, and we know that this right here is a chop area. So you really want to see it break out of this back to the upside if it's going to move. Kind of like looking at Baba. No, I'm going to take off all of these because, yeah. We knew that Baba resistance, that 120, where is it? Oh, right here. That 120 was a really hard resistance, looking all the way back here. And it hasn't really been able to break above there and hold really in a long time. So if it's going to continue, that's going to be the first major resistance. It has to clear that 120 and hold above it for it to really continue. I mean, we were looking at it on the year to say that, you know, if it does break 140, then it can trigger the year, but it has to get through that 120 first, because that's more of a stronger resistance that it hasn't been able to clear in a long time. But you do see this inverted head and shoulders on the month. It's been supported, even with that recent drop. And then you have this almost hammer on the month where it didn't finish the outside bar. Y'all know if it don't finish, sometimes it does the next month. So 113.95 would be the first target, and then that 120 resistance. And then it may start making its way. If it can clear that 120 resistance, it may start really moving and make its way to triggering the outside, the year. So looking at Baba on the week, yep, see, it did a wonderful move on the week, and it closed back above its 200. So you got an inverted head and shoulders here. If it does drop, my first support would be the 200. And then it could come all the way down to fill this gap and still boom. So, but remember the last time it was here, it did the same thing right here, y'all. The last time it was here, it boomed and it kept going. So it kept going. It let the EMA catch up, and then it turned. So it may, if it has memory, it may do the exact same thing. Since it boomed from here, just keep going. And we know we have the gap here to target as well on the daily, and we know our first support will be this 200. So that is Baba. AI. So AI, y'all know everybody's been talking AI. AI has been the thing lately. The stock AI has barely triggered the year, but it did. So it's something we want to be aware of. There's lots of magnitude there to the upside. But, AI, we know that it's not going anywhere. So it's something you want to watch. It's already taken out. This was a PMG on the quarter. And it's already taken out 1, 2, 3, 4 targets. But that doesn't mean it doesn't have room to go, because we know it's triggered on the year. So keep AI in your watch list for, it's one of those things that you probably just want to wait for corrective activity and get in and, ride the wave. So another thing, from its boom, it's had its run and it's based, and now it looks like it's trying to run again. So, look for entry. It's not really a actionable signal here. It's top of the broad information. So, maybe look for it to come back, and maybe in a week it might do like a 2-1, and then you can 2 up or something like that, because it definitely may even come down and correct a little bit, or even down to here. But yeah, it's one of those things that just look for entry, or look for it to base like this again and ride it, because again, this is on the year, so it's plenty of room to go up and plenty of time to get into this. So lastly, I had a few setups for you guys on the month. Airbnb is an inside month here, and it's broken out of this range. So keep that in mind. It's really a doji, so it's not confidence, but it's closer to the upside than it is the downside. So watch Airbnb, maybe because we're going into the second quarter, this may be recovering. Also had 2 good months, and it had its consolidation. So look to see if that continues. Roku is another one. Same thing. Based a little bit, moved sideways, and then now we do have a hammer. So looking to see if that breaks out and moves to the upside. Net's chart looks a little bit similar, except what I really like is that if it breaks over here, this 6207, it's going to break above all of these EMAs on the monthly. That's awesome. Like, I really like that, and I like this hammer. So net may be decent for a run, I believe. No, it wasn't anything on a quarter. Yeah, so it's at a resistance. Keep that in mind. But if it can push through there, that'll also push it above this 200. It needs to get out of this downtrend, so it really needs to get above 64. Otherwise, it may die. But yeah, watching net. for that hammer. BA was another one. You know, BA had this run, and then now it's had its corrective activity. So just want to see if this is going to. It also had a TTO. It took out the last 2 months worth of folks. So with this fresh TTO, are the bulls going to resume that trend? Because BA definitely was beat down a lot. So it could definitely still keep going. So watch that on the month. Again, it's had its run and its base. Although it's been making lowers, highs. If it breaks out to the upside from here, then, you know, that's something you want to watch. Because it's too far to even try to rev strat from here. Like, we would have to really sell off. But not to say we can't, but something to keep in mind. TTD is an inside month. So, and then we have like almost a W here with slightly higher lows. So, if this wants to continue, and we close above all the EMAs, if this wants to continue, this may have a nice upside. You also got an inside week here to complement that inside month. So you could take this to magnitude, and then if it breaks out of this wedge, then it may still keep going. And last but not least, we have square. Why was I looking at square? Hold on. It was not the month. It must have been the week. Inside week. To the upside. But this is a mother bar. So keep that in mind. It's closer to triggering to the upside. But however, this mother bar did recently take out all of these people over here. So, you know, we like that TTO. It didn't take these folks out, but it took out, you know, all of this took them all out. That was a PMG there. Sorry for the noise. That was a PMG there that it took out. So it may even come back up here to this 200. Y'all, that's my FedEx man. I don't know if y'all can hear him. He is playing Wu-Tang. And he always pulls up blasted like that. I love it. But what I also wanted to point out with Square, you have an inside week here, but then you have an inside day to trigger that. So you have this inside day that can trigger that inside week to go up here and fill this gap. They gap down for earnings, and then hopefully YouTube don't take off my copyright for that in the background. That's so funny. It dropped down for earnings, and then they bought it back up. Right now it's in between these two EMAs though. But what I like about this is, you know, whichever way it breaks, it'll break out of this chop area. Because to me, when something's trading in between these two EMAs, I try to leave it alone. So we got our corrective activity here, and you have a shooter on the day, so it looks like it's closer to being pulled to the downside. But if it does, it'll at least break below these, and you'll know these will turn down. But if it breaks to the upside, then, you know, you can target this gap, the rest of these, possibly that 200, and then this might go and cross above. So that is Square. I'm going to check the chat real quick to see if you guys have any questions or you want me to look at anything. Feel free to drop those in the chat if you have any tickers you want me to look at. Let's see. Checking. I'm not seeing any here. Do y'all have any questions for me or anything you want me to look at? Kiki, I believe Kiki is at work. So, Kiki, did you want me to look at anything or show anything before I head on out? No. I was probably thorough today, right, y'all? That's why y'all don't have no questions for me. Because, like, I know I was, like, talking slow, and I just looked at the time. It's almost 2 o'clock. I used to do these in, like, 30 minutes, but now it's, like, an hour because I just be talking out my thoughts while I am looking at the charts. So I hope that is helpful for y'all since y'all not asking questions. Hopefully, like, that, you know, when I talk about those things, it's helpful. But, yeah, I guess I will go ahead and sign off. Let me check one more time. Nope, I guess y'all are good. Well, I am going on vacation next week, so I will not be here next Saturday. But I may try to put out a first week in video. It depends on how worn out I am when I get back from my trip. So if I do, y'all know I will let you know and I'll post it. If not, I will see you guys later. Y'all enjoy the rest of y'all weekend. Thanks for coming. Thanks for watching. You're welcome. You're welcome. Oh, wait. I got a last minute request. Tesla and TSM. 1 second, y'all. Okay. Let's look at Tesla. So let's hide all my supply lines. All right. So Tesla. What I noticed on Tesla was that Tesla triggered the outside quarter, but did not finish. So we know that when it does that, for the most part, it may finish the next whatever time frame, as long as the bulls stay in control, or whoever stays in control. And this is the bull. So as long as it stays above this 183, we can target that 257.50. Thinking though, I mean, I'm not sure if that, I'm pretty sure it won't take all quarter for it to do that, but that would be the next target. And then on the month, we have a beautiful hammer here. Absolutely beautiful. Actually, I don't know why I didn't have this on here. I missed that somewhere. Thank you. Thank you very much. But yeah, beautiful hammer there. So, and it also didn't finish the outside bar on the month. So my first target would be that 217.65 to finish that outside, 2 up, 2 down, 2 up, fresh TCO there. And then if it continues past this 217.65, you can target the quarterly, that 257.50. It may go. Set it here. No, so your first one actually would be 236.70, then 257.50. There's actually a gap here on the month. Insane. About 264. So it may even try to go for that if the bulls continue. You do have a shoulder here. So even a shorter head shoulder. So for the larger one, again, well, no, the larger one, yeah, about 166-ish. And for the shorter term, it would need to stay above 187 for this to be in effect. But then this box it needs to break above this 200. So 216.59 is the top of that. But I like it. It just needs to break above this 200 here. And then on the day, the same thing. Because if you think about it, Tesla hasn't been above this 200 since last year, back here in August, September. And the last time it struggled there and then fell, doesn't mean it can't just boom right through it, but we know that that's going to really be the most strongest resistance, because it really hasn't been able to break above there. So it would have to break above there for me. We do have that could be a head shoulder. So yeah, it needs to break above there to the upside, for more upside, or if it breaks below about 185, 182 to the downside. It broke this resistance though, this downtrend resistance that it's been in. So, and we do have gaps to the upside. So yeah, I have to see. Tesla will really have to break through here, and with some force, because I mean it faked barely. Like it whispered right here, and any other time it just hasn't even been able to make it. So I really would watch this level, this 209.50, to see if it can push past there. Otherwise, it may just reject it again. It may chop right there and then fall. I mean, this really could be your left shoulder, head, left shoulder. So yeah, it really would need to break below. 185 to fall or break above there for me. TSM. Look at you on a quarter real quick. Oh, this bird is being funny today. All right, we got the 2 down, 2 up on the quarter. It came back in, but we hit the target. How is this looking on the year? Still an inside year. And on the month, we had some movement, sideways activity. It did not finish the outside bar. So that's catching my attention to where that would be my first target, that 99, if it continues to the upside. We got an inside week with a hammer. So I like that. I really like that. And it's closer to triggering up here. So 94, about 96, and then about 199. You see that it hasn't really been able to close or hold really actually above this 96. I think that 96 is going to be your strongest resistance. So every time it's hit there, it's just wicked right back down. It's come right back down. So if it does a 212 up, then it can go to that 96. And then you can target that 99. But kind of a cup and handle here. Found support on this 200. EMA is pointing up, so it looks good. Above our 200 on the daily. It's kind of in the shoulder area. This is your shoulder area over here. So as long as it stays above 90, it can continue to go. And strongest support is going to be down here, but about this 87. So, alrighty, you guys are welcome. You're welcome, Chris. You're welcome. I appreciate everybody for coming. All right, I'm going to check out now. So you guys have a wonderful one. Bye, everybody.